On this episode of The Breakthrough Show, we continue our feminine fire focus with part 2 today. First up, we're meeting the Latina Boss Coach, Griselda Beck. In our conversation, we'll chat about how women's empowerment became the cornerstone of the work she does in the world. Plus, we'll take a stand on the importance of including men in the women's empowerment movement. You'll also learn what Griselda believes are the most important focus points for Latina women in the entrepreneur world. Then, we'll be sitting down with an incredible client attracting strategist, Keighley. Carly candidly shares about several breakthrough moments that helped to shape her journey as an entrepreneur. Plus, we'll dive deep into the question of, can you really have it all as a mom who's an entrepreneur? Don't miss this incredible episode coming up next.
Life gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice, and what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I'm so excited that you're here with us for another episode today. This is going to be the episode for women entrepreneurs, women empowerment. Guys, if you're here, you can hang out too, because I'm sure you have women in your life, but where this is going to be amazing, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Coming up later on in the show, I have an amazing client attracting strategist for high energy entrepreneurs. Keighley is here, and she is fantastic. But first up on the show, I was so excited to be introduced to this amazing woman. She is an entrepreneur, speaker, and the guys taking notes, the Latina Boss Coach. Please welcome to the show, Griselda Beck. Welcome, Griselda.
La única. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am taking Spanish right now, and I'm not even going to try to embarrass myself today. So.
It's okay. The one and only.
That's it. I love it. Well, we have a little bit of a tradition on the show to start out by sharing with our audience something that's bringing you joy today, Griselda.
Oh my gosh. You know, what's truly bringing me joy. I've been so grateful all morning is we work on ourselves for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. And we have breakthrough after breakthrough, and we think, oh my gosh, this is it. But today I am celebrating a full integration and acceptance of who I am, who I was meant to be. There's been something that I've been holding back in my business that I wanted to do for a long time, that I felt like when I get my business to this level, then I can do the thing that I really want. And 2 nights ago, I decided, with the help of some friends, we're just going all in. We're going to do it now. We're going to talk about sex.
Oh, yes.
So rather than supporting people in these small unseen spaces, it's the full acceptance that I get to just come out and be everything that I am in my business and be that a stand for women that way. So that's what I'm celebrating today.
I love it. I'm celebrating it
unapologetically me.
The episode's over now. Let's go. We're celebrating. We're done. That's it. Well, I know that you've done so many things, and you are really a voice for women in everything that you do. How did women's empowerment become such a cornerstone of your platform?
Oh man. Growing up Latina, there is a superiority, a hierarchy with men over women that I had this internal rebellious, I hated it, right? It never sat with me that we were not equals. This idea of having to serve, or the boys could get away with things and it would be celebrated, but the girls, it was a shameful thing. And how dare you? And then coming up in corporate America, thankfully I had some really good mentors, but it's still very much a very masculine man's world.
Same stuff, different day.
Yeah. And it's also a very white male world. And that doesn't mean that every white male is not for us, right? Many are for us and our allies. And I wouldn't have gotten to where I was in my career without them. But there's also a lot of things that you endure along the way from other people. And so I think that when I went out on my own, I wanted to be a stand for women, to show them that it actually is okay to be who you are, even in those environments. And there is a way to tap into your personal power and show up that still commands respect and still allows you to create the impact that you want to create and be who you are.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, and it seems like one of those things that like, this is 2021. This should be like, this should be like not a thing anymore. Right. But it is something that we still see and that it's still so prevalent. So what is that line for you? Like, how do you sort of find your way, create this space for yourself as a woman and still be respectful of others and still be mindful of the men that are in the space too? Because I think for me, I've had a little bit of a hard time with some of the feminist movement and everything that's out there of going, completely crossing the line into, well, men are horrible and we don't need them kind of thing,
right? Yeah. No, I'm so glad you brought that up because women's empowerment is also the empowerment of men. Men are raised by women, right? Most men are raised by women. A lot of them are raised by a single mom who was hurt by a man, who then in turn inflicts those wounds onto her son. They grow up this way. They hurt the next woman. That woman becomes single mom. It hurts her son, and it's a cycle. It's truly a catch-22 situation. We cannot empower women without empowering men. And coming from a place of love, coming from a place of seeing, every man has a little boy inside that at one point in time was happy and loving and full of light. And so does every woman have a little girl inside who is happy and loving and full of light. So if we can learn to tap into that person that we were and be meant and live that way and see others for the way that they were meant to be, even if they may not be behaving that way right now, right? We can choose to speak from a place of love. We can choose to, if we're, forced to like work with people, choose to see the good in them and uplift them. Take every opportunity to uplift. We see so many good things and it goes unsaid, but we choose to pick on all the negative things that we see of people. So what if we instead picked on all the wonderful things that they do, and so that the negative thing would be the lower voice in our head?
So good.
Show up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I love every part. I can't even like summarize that because it was so beautiful. Y'all need to just pause, go back, listen to that part again, and you'll be good. Yeah. But it really is about, I don't think that we're meant to say that every single person is exactly the same. But I don't think that we need to completely throw out, one group or another either. For you being Latina and working in that realm, what do you see as being important for specifically Latina women to know and maybe understand in the entrepreneur or woman boss realm?
Yeah, two really big themes come to mind, and one is permission. It's a permission that no one can give you but yourself. But so often we're seeking that permission, that approval from others, that we work ourselves to the bone or into burnout. It's never enough. And so permission, giving yourself permission to ask, what do I want? That's also giving yourself permission to create space to sit long enough to figure out, what do I want? And be authentic with yourself. The second thing is giving yourself permission to be courageous enough to give power to your voice. So often we might feel something or want to say something, and we choose to like It might be wrong. I might mess up. This might not be the right time. I don't want to step on someone else's toes. And so we'll choose to stay quiet, only to either hear someone else say something, or had we spoken up, we would have solved the problem that came down the road. So speaking up and giving yourself permission would be the two big things.
I love that. Did you have any, as you were figuring out those things for yourself, did you have any tools or tricks or anything that helped you along the way?
Oh my gosh.
So many. We have 5 hours. I know.
I don't think we have enough time.
Some of your favorite. How about a favorite tool?
My favorite easy tool, it's an easy place to start. It's a free app. It's called the 5-Minute Journal. If you if you're not sure where to start with the 5-Minute Journal. It is an app that takes you through the practice of gratitude. It sets your intention for the day. It's also, you've heard of the one thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not one thing, but it's the 3 things that you want to get done today. And at the end of the day, it gives you an opportunity to fill in like the 3 best things that you did. So it walks you through celebrating yourself, acknowledging yourself, because you say that here are the 3 highlights from my day. And then one thing that you'd like to do differently tomorrow.
I love that. I love that.
Mostly positive and still has the lesson, right? Yes. The 5-minute journal.
I'm helping the people because I know some of y'all are like, I don't know what it looks like, which one to click on. Look, right there. See it?
So it's gratitude, intention, self-acknowledgement, celebration of self, and lesson learned and a new commitment. All in one little app, 5 minutes.
I love that. No more excuses of I don't have time.
No.
To do. I still listen. That's all. Boys and girls, we've done that episode before. We're not doing it again about you and I don't have enough time. You do have enough time, and you have 5 minutes now to do the 5-minute journal. And, I think it's a great thing to be. Would you say that gratitude has played a huge role in your personal development?
Yes. And it's gratitude beyond. It's gratitude choosing to see what the other person chose to do for you. It was a choice, and being gratitude for that choice, not just the feel good of whatever the word, how it landed on you, but really that they took a stand for you. And when you choose to be intentional about that, you are in a position to be able to receive love so much deeper, even when these people have been people that have hurt you.
Oh, this has been just the start, ladies and gentlemen, today. And we have so much more amazingness to come on the Breakthrough Show today. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk with Keighley and then more with the Latina Boss Coach, Griselda Beck, coming up at the end of the show. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every month for exclusive programming, where we invite you to go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. I'm really excited to finally have a new friend of mine on the show today. She is a podcaster. She helps people with their content. She works in branding and marketing. Is there anything she's a mom? I don't know. Is there anything she can't do? We're not sure, but we're going to find out today. Please welcome my new friend to the show, Keighley. Welcome.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks so much for having me here.
It's so good to have you here finally, because we've gone back and forth forever. It's one of those things, I think, where we just, one thing after another, and that's life lately, I think.
It really is, yeah. But we got there in the end. We are here.
We are here. We are here. Absolutely. Well, I would love for you to start out by sharing with my audience something that's bringing you joy today.
Yes, and you know what? This is going to be a strange one, but in the times we are in, I think the joy today is just online connections. And I think in the times that we're in, this has been such a joy these past 10, 11 months. I don't even know where we're up to in the scheme of things.
Where are we? I don't know.
Where are we anywhere? Yeah, exactly. It's one big blur. But yeah, I think online connections, that's definitely mine today. It's keeping me sane, I think, in the times that we're in.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we've had to learn how to be much more intentional about it, where before on social media, it was like, oh, if it happens, it happens. If we meet somebody, great. But now it's like, listen, if you want to have interaction with people, you need to make some effort, right?
Yeah, I think it's even maybe strengthened friendships that before you could just leave it, and actually setting up Zoom meetings and setting up these online intentional meetings, I guess. Yeah, chats. I can't think what else you call it, but yeah, it has been intentional with purpose, and I think it's strengthened connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know, as I mentioned briefly, you do a lot of different things, and it's not a surprise. People on this show know that I tend to attract the people that are like me, that like and do all of the things. But how did you get into doing copy and content for people?
Oh, where to begin, Jessica? This is quite a we've got time, haven't we?
A few minutes.
Yeah. Well, actually, it started last year. Again, I keep saying about the times we're in with lockdown. We are still in lockdown. We're in lockdown 3 right now. I don't actually know over there what you're in, whether it's just one big blur. But yeah, this started in lockdown 1 for us last. Again, I'm missing all my dates. We'll just say 2020. And yeah, I had a personal training business. It was really a thriving business. I say personal training, it headed more into well-being and mental well-being. I launched my podcast. I was, fully booked. And then just like that overnight, my business disappeared, because obviously my in-person sessions, even my podcast launch party I sold out the tickets. It was such an amazing night. I did an open mic, bringing all the women together just to chat about different areas of our life. And again, that was the first and last event that, who knew? At the time, I remember that was the end of February, and it was just like, right, I'll see you next month. And then everything hit. And then, I sort of just regrouped. I'm quite a reflective person. I'll take a bit of time to just stop, think things through, feel all the feels. And then I had just I guess it's a bit of an awakening, actually. I've become a bit woo, a bit spiritual. And I just realised my strengths. I sort of dug deep into my superpowers and, what was already there within me, and just decided to go down that route. I've been doing it all myself in marketing. In fact, when I look back, I've done marketing in all the roles I've been in when I was employed as well. I just taken that role on. So copy content, it just felt like I was coming home. And it was quite a healing process, because I had my degree from 12 years prior. I'd never really done anything with it. It just felt like that was the right time. It just felt like the universe was pushing me that way.
Yeah, it seems like such a stretch for the people that are watching and listening right now, that are like, okay, fitness, and now you're doing marketing. Like what like, how did that even happen? So you had this experience with marketing and whatnot before. So how did the fitness part come to be then?
Yeah, well, for the fitness part, we have to go way back again. I have so many different layers and stages to my journey, but I guess everybody does, don't they? Everybody has these different stages they go through, and life changes and we change with it. And if we're going right back, going back to 2001, and I suppose my career journey as such, and a lot of what shaped how I am today, was losing my mum at the age of 21. And I was at university. I was actually doing graphic design. Before that, I'd taken a year out from doing media production at a different university, hadn't quite liked it, took a year out, went back and thought, yes, graphic design, this is for me. So it was all down the design route. But then it lost my mum, and it was only 3 months into my course, and I just couldn't handle it. As I suppose so many people listening will know, with grief, it just knocks you absolutely sideways, and it just knocks you off your path, doesn't it? And it took me a long time to figure anything out. I would say the best part of a couple of years, but within the first year, fitness became my saviour, I would say. I went to the gym. I'd always dabbled a little bit, went to the gym and found some solace, I would say, in just how it made me feel, those feel-good chemicals, those endorphins. And nothing's going to take the grief away, of course, but it just made me feel better. And I sort of clung to that. And I think it was just a casual conversation with one of the fitness instructors one day about, oh, how'd you get into this? And before I knew it, I'd signed up, and I was en route to being a fitness instructor, and I just went down that path. So that's kind of how the fitness came about. However, within that, so I do say about layers to my story, I suppose with being a highly creative person, and I'm just such an ideas person, I flit around a little bit. I decided that as part of that healing process, I'm all about the healing. I really felt like a pull to go back and finally get a degree. Because in a way, when I look back now, my mum, I was the first one in my family to go and get a degree, wanted to go to university. Obviously, I'd never got that degree, and I think I just wanted to do it to, I think, make her proud afterwards. Yeah. So I just decided mid-fitness career, I thought, have to go back and get this degree. It just felt like something unfinished. But I didn't want to do sports and fitness. It was funny that it had taken me to that path, and I'd used it as a coping mechanism, and I still went on to do it for another 10, 12 years. But somewhere in that, I think I'd heard too many people actually say that a sports science degree isn't worth that much in the real world. Anybody listening who's got one, apologies, I'm sure it's served you so well, but for me, people said you don't get much further than what you've got in the industry already. So I went and did creative advertising, and that's where the copywriting comes in, because I specialised in copywriting. I just didn't use it. That's another story, another part of it. It's taken me 12 years to come back to that, and that was a whole different set of reasons again.
There's a couple different things. Like I totally understand the grief part of it, and that pushing you into like a new space in life, because that's how it was with me as well. When my brother passed away 11 years ago, it just made me wake up and had me saying to myself often, like, what are you doing with your life? And that it's time to make a change and do what you actually want to do and do what you're passionate about. And so I absolutely relate to that 100%. And then the other thing is that I think you'll have to tell me how you feel about this. I see people all the time that change their lines of work, but ultimately at their core, there's this one thing that drives them no matter what line of work they're in, that whether it's a passion for helping people or just that they feel a sense of purpose. What do you think that was for you?
I think back then and even now there is that common factor, and it was just to help other people feel better as well. So I had gone through that process. I knew that that's what had helped me. So that became my driving force, that actually, that's made me feel better. I can help you. So I think it's so true, isn't it, that anybody who has a business or just a purpose in life is always driven by something we've been through. And I guess there is a quote, and I can't quite remember, I think it might be Oprah Winfrey that says it about leading people from the dark into light. And I cannot remember that quote. If you know it, Jessica, please do correct me. But it's something about that we take them, we guide their hand. We've been there, we've been through. So we're in that position to just say, right, take my hand, I will guide you through it as well, whilst finding their own path, I guess. But there's, very similar back then to what I do now. It's finding what feels good. My podcast is actually called Find Your Feel Good. It's not changed for me back then, back now. It's just a different way of doing it.
I think it's such a good conversation to have, because about being very multi-passionate and about that underlying drive stays the same. Because I think a lot of people look in and say, oh, well, she's a little bit, she keeps changing things. What is she doing? And I think they see the very surface level of changing jobs or changing just trajectories of your life, but they don't see that underlying, passion or drive. It's like, hey, I just want to help people. And so I think it kind of gets a bad rap sometimes when we change things up often. I do all the time. I'm constantly changing things and people are like, oh God, here she goes again.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, it's hard because I think people are quick to judge on the surface of what's going on and not really understanding underneath. I know you're a mom too. And that's another thing that people look in sometimes and they say, what is she doing? She's got kids and she's changing things up. Like, how important has your role as a mom been as you've followed your own passion?
Oh, hugely. I think there's different ways to look at this. This is something I'm really passionate about. I'm quite a proud feminist, and I believe that whilst I suppose the whole thing of women having it all isn't quite true, because we do have to put certain priorities in place. Right. But I do believe that we can still find our feel good, find our passion. I don't think we have to become just mum, and I think it's really important for me personally. I've got 3 girls, so you can see again why I'm all about, say, female empowerment, because I've got 3 pairs of eyes watching me as well on this. If I don't set that, if I don't show them what's possible, how will they learn? Life just continues in that cycle. I want them to know that they can do whatever they want. And I guess for me, when we're talking about parenthood, that's part of my journey and part of my story as well. I've already mentioned that my mum was a huge inspiration to me going back to university, but also I grew up watching her devote herself to us. And I think, I look back and some people could think that's amazing, but actually I feel a little bit sad for her that she didn't get to fulfill everything she wanted to. And I think that's part of my story, that I'm so determined for my girls to see it happening for me, because my mum actually died when she was 2/3 of the way through her examinations to be a driving instructor, and she'd always had this big vision of having her own driving school. She was 2/3 of the way there. It was really sudden. And that's always stuck with me, that she waited and waited. She never made that happen. She waited till we were all grown up, and then suddenly she went to pursue her dreams, never got there. So I think it's crucial. I think we can all, as mums say, put ourselves back on the back burner and say, we'll come back to that. But what if that never arrives? And what if, say, your children are watching and don't see that happen for you?
Right. I agree 100%. And that was when I talked about my brother as well, he was 24 when he died. And I think that was such a huge, he didn't get to do so much, and you just never know. And so why do we wait? Why do we put the things on the back burner? And I think you're right that it is very easy for us to do as moms, because we're kind of, I feel like subconsciously ingrained with, once we have kids, that's it. Like, we have to now, every waking moment has to be about them. And even a couple years ago when I got really sick, so many people said to me, you don't need to do the show. You don't need to do anything else. Literally go with your kids and just, rest. And I couldn't do that, because I absolutely take time to rest, but it's one of those things where it's like, I have to do what I'm passionate about, or what's the point?
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember feeling that a lot last year, where say lockdown hit, and it was, whilst I was sort of stepping back and reevaluating, I was also really eager just to get started again, because for me, I don't do well sitting still. I think you sound so similar, Jessica, full of ideas and just wanting to get your voice out there, and if something's passionate, and maybe it is that we've both been through those huge losses in our life, that you just don't want to waste a second. You just want to get yourself out there and help other people. And I was like that last year, and then you almost, I don't know about you, but I feel sometimes you feel slightly judged, or that you should be able to take that time out. People may be thinking, why doesn't she just stop? But just like you, this is actually what feels good to me. Resting doesn't do it for me. I have to keep going.
Yeah. I loved how you talked about, that there is an element of sacrifice as well. I think this idea that we can have it all is great, and it's wonderful, and we can, but not necessarily at the same time. I quoted for saying that multitasking is a lie, and I stand by that, because you can't give 100% to more than one thing at a time. It's just not possible. You can't do it. And so I think that it's such a good conversation to have about the element of sacrifice, because so many working moms look into stay-at-home moms and say, oh, you've got it all. And then stay-at-home moms look into working moms and say, oh, you've got it all. And, you know,
Yeah. There's a saying, isn't there? Is it work like you don't have children, and you should be sort of have children like you don't have a job? There's some, I've totally got that wrong again. Do not quote me on these sayings, but you always get the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah. I gotcha.
But it is, isn't it? It's how do you do both? You're going to be criticized either way, and I think we're going to self-criticize either way. It's finding that balance for yourself, isn't it? And knowing that you're doing the best job for you, whilst, like I say, encouraging and inspiring your children as well. I don't think there's any shame in it. You know, I think some working women, some women in business may feel that actually, should I be doing this? Should I be at home? Should I wait till they're older? But no, you are leading the way. You're showing them what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. That was when it hit really hard for me, was when I realized, oh, you know, beating myself up for taking time to do things that I'm passionate about, and like, oh, you're taking things away from my kids. No, they're seeing me go after what I want. And now it's hysterical because, you know, they'll go on YouTube or, you know, TikTok or Instagram or something, and they'll see something of mine and they're like, oh, look, there's my mom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real experience for them, isn't it? They think they can't quite compute why why are you there?
Yes. And now, I mean, it's funny sometimes, because sometimes they're like, oh God, hurry and scroll away. You know, the teenagers, it's not real cute anymore.
No. No, but you know what's interesting there, actually, I just want to pick up on something you said there, Jessica, about our passions and, you know, getting back into that. And only recently, again, that I'm in terms of business and career development, I've never let, say, being a mum hold me back in such. I've just gone for it. But actually, my personal passions have gone on the back burner, and it's only now, again, yet again, lockdown as such. Maybe last year was about my business pivoting. This year, I started to make more time for me. And the other day, I set up the dining room table, got loads of paints out, and I ordered myself some paints. Got these really cute brand new brushes. Oh, I won't go into art. I get a bit of a geek on it. I really haven't painted for years and years, and I'm talking years, you know, so I don't know what clicked within me, but I just thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take my time. You know, it is a family day, but actually I set them up. They did some painting. I was a bit too protective, I think. I was like, nope, not using that paint. That's my paint. But for them to see me sort of in my element, and they joined in as well. So it's not always about adapting to the children. I guess if they see us doing it as well, I think I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I even think about when I was growing up and things that I saw. In fact, I'm hoping by the time this comes out, I'll be done with it, but I'm writing a book about growing up with my grandparents and things that they taught me without actually teaching me. So like just little things that they would do, because based on what we see as children and how we process it. I want to break it down of how I process it then, and then how I process it now, and you know, the difference in that as well. But they really do pick up so much. Not every moment has to be this, let's sit down and have a conversation moment, right?
Yeah, it is just they're watching. We just don't realize it. It's a little bit like, I suppose, when you do talk about social media and in my role about content, it's like you never know who's watching, but that can become to parenting as well. You just don't realize. I think we somehow get so consumed in our own thoughts, in our own bubble. We kind of make it sometimes all about us, which it has to be. I guess as a human being, we are stuck in our head 24/7. But sometimes, even with parenting or with business, is thinking outside of that and thinking, who's watching, who's learning from me, and who am I inspiring, even if you don't know at the time that you are.
Speaking about that, how important do you think it is to allow, whether it's your kids or your audience, to have them see you fail?
Oh, good question. Yeah, again, I think it is important. And I think it's all about reframing. And that's something I've definitely done these past couple of years. I've just really pushed myself these last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, where I have, I say loads of self-development books, I do, but there's a pile that I'm yet to read, and I keep buying them. One arrived yesterday. It's about 10 to 15 books I haven't read now. But I do keep pushing myself. And even just buying the book shows that intention that you're working on yourself. So I have got into that mindset of reframing things, and, you know, failure, it probably sounds quite cliched now, but it's not a failure. It's what you can learn from this.
Right.
And I do try to pass that on to children, my audience especially, is probably the best way to do that, to explain that an example of it. I'm trying to think of the right word in there, Jessica. And I do sort of share my journeys, my story, and I will share that. I like to keep it quite real, and I think that's so important in this world, especially in social media. We see perfection and everything polished, and I've been quite sharing recently actually my podcast setup. So I did have an office last year. It's another story, but it didn't work out, and I am now, even as we speak, actually, I've got boxes piled up on my laptop on top. It's not perfect. And I will share that behind the scenes. I show these, it's almost become a bit of a running joke that I'll show this creative setup of what is my podcast setup today and what is it balanced on. And it's become quite the joke. But I think, I know that's different to failures, but I just think just being real is so important.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it can be really easy to, and people think, oh, I'm being 100% real, but that's not always true. I mean, we have beautiful setup. Y'all can't see my desk right now. I'm just saying. And I said on a live the other day, I was like, okay, moms out there, you can't tell me you've never gone to take a picture of your child or your dog or whoever and gone and moved something out of the way so it's not in the picture. Who's ever done that before? I mean,
I'm putting my hand up. Yeah, definitely, because we've all done it, haven't we? I think that's the day we're in. Back in the day where it was disposable cameras and you had to go and get them developed. You couldn't do all that. And I mean, I'm just looking at your pretty background. I've got some little lights on behind me, and I did move things out of the way. But I've definitely done it with my children. And how bad is that really when you think of it? You're just trying to kind of document their childhood, and we probably do. And we probably even tell them to pose a certain way and just take that again, or just do this. And I think it's just the way of the world, but it's having to, I do try and catch myself in that as well.
Yeah. I've shared with people recently that when my oldest is 20 this year, I'm in denial. I don't want to talk about it, but thank you. But when he was a baby, I have never been I try real hard, but I'm not a good housekeeper. I just putting it out there. I'm honest. And, but when he was a baby, you can look back at baby pictures I have, his room was always spotless. And because I used to take pictures in there all the time. And so if I was going to put my effort into something 100%, it was going to be the space where I was taking pictures. So I've shared that recently because I talked to him about it and I said, do you remember at all, how messy the house used to be or anything like that? He's like, no. I said, that's because your room was clean. Your room was spotless.
He was the chosen one in that sense. He had the.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We've had so much good conversation today. I would love to ask you, in this time of there's a lot of people coming online to do business maybe for the first time, or they're expanding their business online. Do you have any advice for people about their copy or anything like that? Has it changed because of everything going on in the world?
I don't know about change as such, but I've definitely seen a shift in these last 12 months. I think people are getting a lot more in tune, and they're the words that I find myself using so much anyway. In fact, I do call myself an intuitive brand strategist sometimes because it just feels more me and in alignment with myself. So I definitely seen a switch in that sense. And I do copy. I don't do, probably not quite copywriting. I'm more a copy coach because again, I prefer them to send it to me, their voice, their story, their words, and I might just jazz it up a little bit and just make sure it sounds grammatically correct or has a bit of sparkle. So that's the shift I've possibly seen in the last 12 months. I do think people are being more true to themselves. Because again, we just chatted then about when you go through something huge in life, and I think the world is going through this together. We talk about grief, but I think there's so much grief, there's so much loss. We can all be putting a brave face on this, but everybody is going through this in different ways. What do they say? It's the same, different boat, same storm. And I do think people are maybe taking stock of themselves a little bit more. And even in the copy and content, I say it to people, I say about being the feel good, it has to feel right to you. It has to feel good to you. So be aligned with what you're about. Definitely is the core, because that energy will come out completely off. A lot of people in marketing will say it's all about the ideal client. What problems can you solve? And yes, obviously you have to do that.
Right.
But for me, especially when we're talking about solopreneurs and people as their brand, personal branding, putting yourself out there, it has to align, because otherwise it will show. So align first, then discover who is your dream client, who are you talking to, and it attracts them. That energy you put out there attracts them. So that's probably my tip and my observations about the way it's going. I think it is much more intuitive. Yeah, just tune into you and trust what you are hearing.
It's such a good tip, because when I first started out, I was basically told, the majority of people told me, focus on your ideal client. Who's your ideal client? And through that process, I was talking so much at people, if that makes sense, instead of to people. Like, I was just not myself. And now it's kind of funny, because as I've allowed myself to be more authentic, people are like, who is this? Where did she come from? And I'm like, she's been here. You can ask my kids. This is who I really am. But I was so focused on like trying to please other people, and what do other people want? And now it's like, I feel like it's because I'm in the magical 40s now that I don't care anymore. So.
Yeah, do you know, I turned 40 last year, and I think it is true. You kind of step into that and just be like, who was that, the woman from the past sort of 20, 30 years?
Yes.
You don't really care. And that's quite a magical place. And maybe that's what it is. We just take that ownership back of what we're about. And it shows. It really does. It's not, yes, it's about your clients, your ideal clients, but it's not all about them. Take a bit of something back for you. Start with you first.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to hear what you are up to now, where people can find you and all of that good stuff, Carly.
Yeah, well, first and foremost is probably my podcast. That is Find Your Feel Good for female entrepreneurs. But if you have male entrepreneurs listening, or just anybody in life, because I do touch on subjects around sort of just being yourself and that intuitive approach to business, but also to life as well. So I think there's lots of value in the podcast itself. And then all my links, I'm sure you'll have as well on. I almost don't give my links, because we said before about flitting around a little bit. I do change them.
Yeah.
I don't give them. But you know what? If you just look for Carly Keighley, it's Keighley, which I know will be there. I don't know why I've just spelt that. I get so used to spelling it, because people do say, huh? How'd you spell that? Yeah, come and find me on all the channels. So I suppose it's Facebook, Instagram, and I'm loving Clubhouse as well. Are you on there, Jessica?
I'm on Clubhouse. I'm trying to like it. Maybe by the time this comes out, I will like it.
Oh, come and find me. We should host a room, and maybe that's what will get you
yes.
liking it. We'll chat and just have our own little room.
Yes, that'll be great. I keep telling people that I host the uncool table there. So
well, I will join you on that happily. I've never been part of the cool kids, so
I love it. It's been such a pleasure having you here today, Carly. I'm glad this finally happened, because it was a process. It was good though. I'm glad to have you here. It's been so much fun.
It's been so great, and things are just worth waiting for. Again, universe aligned, and we made it happen. So yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jessica.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, make sure you check out the show notes for all of Carly's information, and we'll be back in just a minute for more of The Breakthrough Show. Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to thank our last guest, Keighley, for being here today. Please be sure to check out thebreakthroughshow.com, where you can find information about Keighley, as well as all of our past guests and panelists and hosts and musicians and all the amazing people that have ever been on the Breakthrough Show. I also want to remind you, you just saw an amazing clip of our nonprofit event coming up on December 4th, 2021, a musical evening of giving. Please be sure to tune into that. Get your tickets. 100% of the ticket proceeds are being split evenly between Overcoming Odds and the Weiss Scholarship Foundation. So moving on, now we are back with our fabulous guest from segment 1. Griselda Beck is here, the Latina Boss Coach. And I have to, you are a spunky woman, and, and I have a feeling that you bring that into all the work that you do. There's been so much that's gone on in the world over the last couple of years that have just, I mean, people are tired. People are tired, they're worn out, they're exhausted. And how have you kept your energy up and being still excited about the work you do in the world with everything that's gone on?
It's actually a simple answer. I lead with vision. I lead with vision. The world and the life that I envision for myself. I get to keep that very clear and very present at all times. And it's when I lose sight of that, or when I've stopped focusing on it, that I get caught up in my circumstances, whatever they might be, whether it be a world circumstance, pandemic, Black Lives Matter, Me Too movement, or I get caught up in my daily circumstances. But leading with vision is so important. And it's what I do with my clients too, when they're having kind of a spin out, a spiral breakdown, right? We call it. It's bringing them back to, what's your vision? Yes, this has occurred. And what do you want to create now?
Right. Right. We've talked before about how a lot of times, before we have the breakthrough, we have the breakdown. And yes. Do you feel like that's necessary? Sometimes are some of us just stubborn and we need to just lose it before we can move forward?
Sure. Every breakdown you have and every breakthrough has a beautiful gift of a lesson, right? A new piece of your puzzle gets put in place.
Right.
And so, yeah, absolutely. Embrace them. They're beautiful. They don't feel good when you're going through them. And that's why it's the quicker you can shift, right? That's the goal, is to increase your shift time. And so one way to do that is to sit in the muck and the horribleness of it. And what is the lesson for me here? How is this working for me? What do I get to take moving forward? What can I learn from this? The quicker you can get to that, the faster you'll reach your breakthrough and be back on the other side.
That's a great something that people can definitely take home and think about because it's hard in those moments. It's hard when we're going through something to go, oh, this is for my highest good. Yay. This is fun. Right. That's not, we don't do that. It's hard in the moment. I know that you mentioned being a visionary leader. What is something that is a big vision for you? What's something that's a big goal that you have, or something that you envision for your future?
I envision, for me personally, I do envision myself in a stadium, in an arena, on a stage, speaking to a sea of beautiful, beautiful hearts, and watching their eyes light up as they realize the power that they have inside of them to choose their life and create it. It's no longer a wish, a dream, only they get to have this, but when you really can tap into that personal power, it doesn't matter who's around you, what your circumstances are, you can rise above it and create anything you want to do in life. And the moment that people realize that, it's so beautiful. So that's my dream and my hope.
I love it. I love it. Well, obviously everything that you're doing now is a stepping stone to that big arena. So what are you working on in this moment?
Shifting in my messaging right now to embrace more of the sexual empowerment, removing a lot of the shame, limiting beliefs, giving, again, women to give themselves permission to explore, what do I want, is the vanilla life what I wanted?
Nobody wants that
color. nobody, I swear to God, you're so right. Nobody wants that. But they get to give themselves permission to even think outside the box, right? Of what do I want? And I'm not saying like BDSM or swinging is for everyone, but even within your marriage, people that are married, you know, there's a lot of resentment that is birthed in the bedroom because we're not speaking up for what we want. So that resentment bleeds over into everything. Your parenting, you're running your business, being a leader in corporate. It does, because it knocks down your confidence.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm doing that, and also putting together and planning the retreat, which is finally going to happen in 2022. I have been pushing it out like 4 or 5 times now. And I'm super excited about that. We're going to be in wine country in Baja, California. And yeah, it's going to be such a beautiful 4 days of connecting with yourself, unplugging, recharging your soul, your mind, and your body.
I love it. That sounds amazing. And in wine country, I mean, everybody loves a little wine too.
There will be wine. There's also going to be a pool.
Wine and pool. That sounds like a behind the scenes breakthrough episode waiting to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'm so excited for the energy and the vision and everything that you're bringing to the space for women entrepreneurs everywhere. And especially, of course, the Latina community. I think everything you're doing is just so needed in the world right now. And I appreciate the effort that you're putting behind it. Where can everybody find you, Griselda?
Easiest way is Instagram at Latina Boss Coach. Same handle on Facebook. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Griselda Beck.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Griselda. You are amazing. Okay. And I would love to have you come back and dive into some of the sexual energy and other things that we're talking about here today, because I think that would be a juicy, fun episode.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much for being here today, my friend. And thank you, all of you, for watching or listening wherever you are in the world today. Thank you to Keighley for being here. And I want to remind you to tune in every single Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time. We've only got a couple episodes left in this season, you guys. And then we're going to go enjoy the holidays and our families. And of course, be back for season 6 next year. I can't believe I'm saying that, but we're going to do it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So please be sure to tune in. And remember, every day is a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com and be sure to join our app